I'm Nicole Purvy, and here is the real estate news that you need to know about for the week of April 24th, 2023. Biden raises costs for homebuyers with good credit to help risky borrowers. According to Newsweek.com, homebuyers with good credit scores will soon be facing higher mortgage fees as the Biden administration seeks to close the racial home ownership gap and get more first-time and low-income buyers through the door. A new federal rule could raise the monthly mortgage payments of buyers with good credit scores by over $60 a month, while riskier borrowers will get more favorable terms because their fees will be reduced. Starting in May, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, FHFA, will make important changes to their loan level price adjustment matrix, also known as the LLPA matrix, in hopes of addressing housing affordability challenges in the U.S. In other words, the effort to get more lower income Americans and Americans of color into home ownership is essentially being subsidized by borrowers who have better credit scores and can contribute more to their down payment. But there have been complaints that the rule change is unfair and potentially ineffective. Only about 25% of home buyers with FHA loans are people of color. Black and Hispanic people on average have fewer savings to use as down payment on a home and tend to have lower credit scores. I'm going to say it another way. In order for the FHFA to help close the gap by bringing down LLPAs for those borrowers, the agency will compensate for the reduction in borrowing fees by raising the LLPAs of borrowers with higher credit scores who tend to be white. My analysis? Listen. I'm here for reparations because I want all my inheritance. But this right here is not fair, and it sounds a little like socialism. U.S. existing home prices fall nearly 1% in March, the biggest drop in a decade. Existing home sales in the U.S. fell 2.4% in March as buyers contended with higher mortgage rates and a lack of new listings. According to MarketWatch.com, sales of previously owned homes in the U.S. fell to an annual rate of 4.44 million in March. By the way, this number represents the number of homes that will be sold over an entire year if sales took place at the same rate in every month as they did in March. The drop in sales reverses a sudden jump in February when home sales rose to a revised pace of 4.55 million. The drop in sales was larger than expected. Compared with March of 2022, home sales were down a whopping 22%. In addition, the median home price for an existing home fell by 0.9% from last March, dropping to $375,700 this year. The drop is the largest since January 2012, when home prices fell 2% year over year. It's also the second month in a row that home prices fell. The number of homes on the market rose by 1% in March from the previous month to 980,000 units. Expressed in terms of the month supply metric, there was a 2.6 month supply of homes for sale in March, the same as the previous month. By the way, before the pandemic, a 4 to 5 month supply was the norm. Sales of existing homes fell in most regions, falling from the most in the Midwest. The Northeast was the only region that saw sales remain flat. All cash transactions made up 27% of sales, and about 28% of homes were sold to first-time homebuyers. And the share of individual investors or second home buyers was 17%. My analysis? Prices are going to come down further. It's going to get a little cold out here for realtors. And investors who think long-term will be the real winners. Understanding the country's housing shortage. The housing shortage is probably not news to anyone who's looked to buy a home recently. According to Bankrate.com, the supply of homes for sale in the U.S., typically measured in months of supply, reached a record low of just 1.6 months in January 2022. Currently, we're at 2.6 months supply, but it's still not nearly enough to meet the demand represented by a balanced market of 5 to 6 months supply of inventory. Let's get into why there's a housing shortage. Rising materials costs, supply chain issues, and labor shortages stemming from COVID all have negatively impacted the housing inventory. But the problem existed long before the pandemic. Essentially, the U.S. has failed to keep up with the housing demands of a continually increasing population. One factor that exacerbates the shortage is the prevalence of institutional investors, who buy up a large portion of the housing inventory for profit. These investors accounted for more than 13% of residential real estate purchases in 2021. Another factor is the Great Recession, which took place around 2007-2008. Data from the St. Louis Fed suggests that this had a severe impact on housing inventory. New home builds had been on the rise in 2005, peaking in January 2006 with more than 2,200 housing units started that month. They then declined very sharply, hitting a low of just 478 in April 2009. While the total number of new builds has slowly been increasing since then, totals have yet to reach pre-Great Recession levels. The current economic environment is also complicating matters. Hopeful buyers saw their purchasing power plummet as mortgage rates and inflation increased. When rates hit 6%, we saw many aspiring homebuyers put their search on hold temporarily. At 7%, we saw a bigger tipping point where more people exited the market. In addition, high mortgage rates are deterring homeowners from selling for fear of giving up their locked-in low rates. Many homeowners with mortgages are currently locked in at sub 5% interest rates. Many who might otherwise be sellers are simply choosing to stay put, which is further limiting available for sale existing homes in today's market. My analysis: get into real estate investing now. I know there's a lot of mixed economic info out there scaring people out of investing, but nothing can trump jumping into a business market with insatiable demand. If you live in America, you live in one of the hottest real estate markets in the world right now. Take advantage. Rents are still on the rise. These are the most and least affordable cities for renters. The meaning of unaffordable may vary by household, but the general guideline is you should spend no more than 30% of your gross income on rent. According to BusinessInsider.com, among the most unaffordable cities, median income earners in 6 cities would be considered severely rent burdened. According to NerdWallet.com, an analysis of 225 cities in the U.S. finds that 65% of rents on the market were equal to or above the recommended 30% ratio in March. By federal standards, spending 30% to 49% of income on rent means a household is moderately rent burdened, and spending 50% or more means a household is severely rent burdened. Among the 225 cities analyzed, 6 have rent-to-income ratios that put renters with median incomes in the severely rent-burdened category for March 2023. The first one is Trenton, New Jersey at 70%. Number 2, Bridgeport, Connecticut at 69%, Miami at 68%, Santa Maria, California at 62%, New York City at 56%, and Los Angeles at 50%. Here are the cities with the lowest rent-to-income ratios. Number 1, Janesville, Wisconsin at 17%. Number 2, Appleton, Wisconsin at 19%. Number 3, Bloomington, Illinois, 19%. 4, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 19%. 5, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 20%. 6, Augusta, Georgia at 20%. Number 7, Springfield, Illinois at 20%. Number 8, Oshkosh, Wisconsin at 21%. 9, Bismarck, North Dakota at 21%. 10, Davenport, Iowa at 21%. My analysis: if you're new to investing, look to invest in cities with low rent to income ratios and run from the opposite.